Crystia!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. I know that when we talk about the WEF, when we talk about corrupt politicians, and especially now the ongoing situation with water across the country, this seems to be like beating a dead horse. We keep talking about the same issues. However, there has been a radical movement or a new developing issue that has confirmed once again that we are back into, I guess, essentially lockdown pandemic days. This is WEF style politics, and it is moving forward across the country, not only in Calgary, but you're going to start seeing it at this point, I'm very confident to say, moving across the country, and I'm going to get into all of that. But first, I want to take a minute in this video to shed some light on this video's current sponsor, Unacceptable Fringe Books. Unacceptable Fringe Books has something new and exciting to share with each and every one of you. Our newest book and possibly final book entry into our series of political satire books, Just Axe the Tax, a parody of Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham, is now available on Amazon. Over the last few years, it's been my absolute pleasure to bring you hit titles such as How the Prime Minister Stole Freedom, One Face, Two Face, Blackface, Blueface, Hold the Line, The Ballad of Tamara Leach, and How the Prime Minister Broke Canada. All of these best-selling books have been an absolute thrill to write for you, but with each book releasing, we always want to give back to the community as well and try to help Canadians in some shape or form and another. This time, I'm proud to announce that proceeds from every purchase of our books on Amazon will be going towards helping local Canadian food banks at a time when the Prime Minister has made affordability very difficult for common Canadian households. At Unacceptable Fringe Books, not only are we committed to giving you humor in political entertainment, but we are also committed to giving Canadians a boost at a time when they're in need or looking for some form of assistance. Head over to Amazon.com or Amazon.ca right now and pick up your copy of Just Axe the Tax and give yourself the gift of a little bit of laughter at a time when everyone in this country could definitely use some. Link is down below in the description. Now, just as the ad says, ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind that when you buy any of the books that we have currently with Unacceptable Fringe Books over on Amazon, not only are you supporting the channel, but I'm, for the first 60 days of production since Just Axe the Tax, taking 50% of my cut after costs and donating them to local food banks in order to help those who are suffering at a time when our government just really doesn't want people to get ahead. So not only are you getting yourself some form of entertainment, but you are also helping out those in need and assisting this channel. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, shameless plugs aside, let's get into what's happening in Calgary and how this is going to affect the rest of Canada. We have spoken to great extent on this channel about the water main break that has happened in Calgary back in early June. This is now an 8-week debacle, roughly, that's moving through the city at a very slow-paced rate. First, it started out with a water main break. For those who weren't familiar or who haven't been here, it was a pipe that roughly carries 60% of Calgary's water to the residents of the city. Now, Naheed Nenshi, or Nenshit as I call him, throughout his tenure as mayor, ignored inspections for this pipe. He brushed them off and said there's no need to conduct inspections on this pipe. Of course, no liability. He's still in the running to be Premier of Alberta, so that should give you an idea as to how well the province would be run under his watch. But that aside, failed woke Mayor Jyoti Gondek now comes into the fray. And since as early as February of this year, she had been warning that there were going to be droughts, there were going to be mass water restrictions, that they were going to have to find some way to stop Calgarians from consuming water. Now, that seems weird coming in winter months when you essentially, if know anything about Calgary, the weather shifts on a dime. It could be perfectly sunny in the morning and storm and hail by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then even see some light snow in the evening, only to wake up the next day to 20-degree plus weather. This is one of those cities with the Chinook winds that come over the Rocky Mountains where weather changes on a dime. So for any mayor to sit and say, we're going to see a drought, we're going to see these conditions, it's very unpredictable at best. Now, don't get me wrong, preparation is always key, but when they start talking in the winter about a drought, when we've had average or above average snowfalls throughout the year, when we've seen the Bow River going through Calgary at the highest it's ever been, And now this pipe breaking, essentially what's happened is, and I've said it from day one, that I'm not claiming that this water main break was done deliberately, rather than the fact that, now, even though that's now questionable, but now that it's been done to be used as a catalyst to move these WEF-style policies. What are the WEF-style policies? Well, we've heard from Davos, we've heard in meetings at Davos, including people like Crystia Freeland, saying that if you cut down people's consumption of water, you cut down the electricity, and you can regulate things, you can pace out how much people can use. That also moves into the food supply. And of course, good old Klaus's method of you'll eat the bugs and own nothing and be happy. Well, not only are the mayors in this town, in our town, corrupt, but they're corrupt all across the country. And we have seen that Jyoti Gondek has now taken multiple weeks to fix one portion of pipe. She then came forward right before Stampede season and said, hey, we found 5 more issues with a pipe. We're going to have to fix things, and it's going to take up to 6 weeks. And I even said when we made that video, watch Jyoti Gondek fix the pipe just in time for the Calgary Stampede. And then she'll come out like the town's hero, riding in on her white horse and telling everybody how she's so fantastic for fixing things in the city. Again, giving the illusion that she cares about Calgarians, that this wasn't a setup, that it's nothing to do with further restrictions. But now we know that's not the case. Again, if you're outside of Calgary, the Calgary Stampede, or as they call it, the greatest outdoor show on earth, is currently under swing in Calgary, and it roughly contributes to 80% of the city's revenue every single year. So, of course, Calgary isn't going to postpone the Stampede. What they've done instead was fix the pipe and say, well, now you can use your washing machines, you can wash your dishes, you can have showers once again, you can carry on with your indoor water use. However, when it's 37 degrees outside, like it's been this week in Calgary, you're no longer allowed to use your sprinkler. You can't water your garden, your grass, sorry. You're not allowed to fill pools for your kids, and that essentially has risen concerns for parents over the hot temperatures. Now, where this comes to light and where this is funny, good friend of the channel, Erin at Freedom for All Time. You should follow her on X if you haven't already. She's a fantastic account to follow, especially if you're into Calgary politics. She does some live streams from time to time. Again, I'd love to have her on the channel at some point to talk about Calgary issues, but here we go with what's happening. So she puts out, they could have been letting us fill kiddie pools. They just weren't allowing us to. Suddenly, it's allowed now that a super hot day comes to town. It doesn't make any sense. They're just toying with us, and this proves it once again ridiculous. Now, of course, we have this people kind standing down here that just screams wokeness. Again, doing a 7, almost 8-minute video on why it's so important we listen to them, but I want you to hear the words of this post. Tell me if this sounds familiar to anybody. We remain in stage 3 outdoor water restrictions, but as of today, filling of outdoor pools, including kiddie pools, is allowed to help you stay cool. We are continuing to move carefully before easing restrictions further. This is pandemic all over again. We're allowing you to do these things. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We're throwing you some crumbs. The water that you pay for, the essential service that you're supposed to have in your city, we're allowing you to take a little bit more. You can live a little bit better because the government is going to give you those crumbs. We've seen water main breaks all of a sudden break out in cities like Hamilton, Quebec City, Halifax, where people have been told, boil your water. Snitch lines are open again. I was snitched on by my neighbors for using my hose for less than 10 seconds. It's pandemic all over again. People in other cities have been told, if we catch you using your water, you can face up to $2,000 in fines. This is part of the plan. It's all part of the plan. Now, people say, Derek, you're crazy. You're a conspiracy theorist. This has nothing to do with anything. It's just a water main break. Many people that have chimed in the comments that have worked in this industry have told me it doesn't take weeks to fix these sections of pipes. Excuse me. And while things were on the verge of being repaired, and the Stampede's underway, and we think, hey, we're starting to get some things lifted. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe these aren't restrictions. Well, all of a sudden, new article comes out from the woke Calgary Herald. City workers find another snapped feeder main wire. No easing of outdoor water restrictions in sight. Here we go. So as soon as the city's done getting their revenue during stampede season, well, we're going right back to lockdowns of water. City workers monitoring a repaired stretch of the northwest water feed main have found a third snapped reinforcement wire, leading to concerns over the system's strength. Discovery was made Thursday along the northwest stretch of pipe, where 5 sections have been repaired or upgraded. 2 other failed wires that wrap around the pipe, all in separate locations, were found earlier this week. The 3 snaps are not immediate cause for concern, but they do show the pipes are under some stress and under current pressure, says I don't care, the city's director of capital priorities and investment. There are other areas where we have detected snapped wires and the pipe is structurally weaker. We know we'll need to create a medium and long-term rehabilitation plan for these sections. So again, guys, hey, it's not our fault. We're just all pulling together, right? 2 weeks to flatten the curve. We didn't intend for this. As the city moves slowly to stabilize the system that ruptured June 5th in Montgomery, that pressure is only 80% of the norm, with 55% of the typical water flow. For that reason, the city is still not willing to ease currently imposed Stage 3 water restrictions to Stage 2, which would allow unfettered use of sprinklers, hoses, and irrigators. Bouchard said that a sophisticated monitoring device known as a pipe diver that began gauging the strength of the water feed main line last week won't return data for another 3 weeks. Again, conveniently getting us through the summer. So no water for the summer, no water going into the fall. People shut their outdoor pipes off during the winter anyways, and then they can move forward with restrictions. Some gardeners, landscapers, and irrigators say waiting that long could mean numerous lost jobs and severely damaged trees and lawns. Of course it does, but they don't care. The amount of jobs that are going to be affected, again, they didn't care during lockdowns. They didn't care during the pandemic. People can lose their jobs. It's okay as long as you all comply. He wouldn't say if the rest of the city will have to preserve for 3 more weeks or not. Of course he won't say, because it's all part of the plan. The whole city should not have to shut down its water use while you repair a pipe. Does anybody else live in a major city? Have you ever seen when they say there's water main repairs going on and they maybe shut down the water to a community for a few days instead of the entire city? This is where I say people need to be educated. You need to understand that this is all control. You have to be an idiot, a literal idiot, to buy into this stuff anymore and to say, oh, it's legitimate. Oh, guys, we all just got to pull together. It depends on the work we're doing right now and whether or not we have significant confidence the risk of sufficiently has migrated for us to get to that next stage. I don't want to underemphasize the risks that taking by moving through the various stages of operation. So again, guys, we don't want to reopen restaurants. We don't want to reopen malls because we don't want to get through those risks. Again, this is all scripted. It's running off the same scripts. If we determine the pipe can handle increased pressure, it'll allow us to look moving forward to Stage 2. The pipe was installed in 1975, and city officials have said it was expected to last for 100 years. A similar pipe ruptured 20 years ago in Calgary's northeast. Again, when that similar pipe ruptured, nobody was told to shut off all their water for months at a time. With this week's hot weather, Calgarians' water consumption continues to rise, with 567 million liters used on Wednesday and up to 555 million on Tuesday, 540 for Monday. We've been able to meet the demand. This is a normal pattern during a heat wave, he said. It's also stampede season. There's thousands of people in town staying at hotels that aren't being told restrict your showers, that aren't being told we just can't do the Calgary Stampede because of all the water use. So it's okay for the city to get their revenue, and then as soon as that's done, lock down all the plebs. If the city had moved to Stage 2, Calgarians on Wednesday would have consumed an additional 70 million to 100 million more liters, mostly through the use of sprinklers and hoses, he added. So when Stampede's over and those people leave town, when our hotels aren't jam-packed with people using that water, wouldn't those 70 million liters be made up at that point? Of course, they don't want to talk about that. That would just be common sense. On Wednesday, the city eased some outdoor water restrictions by green-lighting the use of private and backyard pools to allow Calgarians to cool down in sweltering heat that's exceeded 30 degrees for a few days. The problem with that statement is that the amount of water it takes even to fill up a kiddie pool could be used to run your sprinkler for 20 minutes. There's no harm in it. If you're going to allow one thing, you have to allow them all. And it shouldn't even be a matter of allowing them. That's the point I'm getting to. This is where I talk about breadcrumbs, them throwing these little trails at you. Is it's all set up to make you feel rewarded, to make, hey, we're doing a good job, everybody. Look, they really care about us. They're sympathizing with the current heat conditions. No, they're not. They're trying to avoid a mutiny. They're trying to avoid a revolution. Because if people are boiling to death, they're going to have to do something. This is where we are in Canada. If anybody wants to call this a conspiracy theory at this point, I don't know what to tell you. But when you see it going across the country, in comparison, remember last year it was all wildfires. How much have you heard about wildfires this year? We've still heard about them, but nowhere to the extent that we did last year. This year, it's all water main breaks, right? Last year, we've seen a number of people in mass provinces being charged with arson. That's genuine fact. We've seen that in the news. We've covered it here on the channel. I know that a lot of fires happen because of negligence, because of people, not knowing or being educated enough to put out campfires properly, things like that. We see it in the West all the time, being as close to the Rocky Mountains as we are. But this is the reason why my family is already saying we're going to sell our house, pack up, and leave Calgary, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're in the city, I would advise doing the same if you don't want to live under these draconian measures. This is where we're headed. Now, is that to say that wherever our family moves to or your family moves to, we're going to be better off? Absolutely not. But I'm just telling you that right now, for the sake of mental stress, I cannot live in a city any longer that wants to prop up this kind of behavior. Everyone in Calgary or any major city where you're dealing with this should be contacting their local city councilors and asking how they expect to get a single vote for them to resit next term when they can't even handle proper day-to-day maintenance in a city. It's not like this is a catastrophe. This is general maintenance. We're buying multi-million-dollar structures in Calgary, but we can't fix a pipe. Somebody tell me how that works. Somebody tell me how that works. Mayor Gondek should resign immediately. She should hang her head in shame as she walks out of City Hall, and every single councillor in Calgary should be stepping down from their position. They've dropped the ball, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. I'm just going to get more heated the longer I go on. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Have you seen similar behavior? Do you think that this is the beginning of the end when it comes to water? If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure as you're clicking that button, you hit the bell for notifications. Join me live here on the channel every Friday for Friday Night Fringe, our weekly live streaming show. I'll be back from vacation just in time to do this upcoming Friday's show next week. So stay tuned for that. I'll have to catch up on everything I haven't already pre-filmed for you guys and have a discussion about everything that I know that's coming up ahead and a little bit of back and forth within our community. I look forward to talking with you each and every single week in our live streams and hearing what you have to say outside of making these videos. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of you there. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and enjoyed this video. Stay cool if you're out there in the heat. I'll catch you on the next one.